You have a long reputation. You think Trump committed a crime, and you're surrounded by people who, for various reasons, want to slow down or not do it. But DA Vance, for whatever reason, didn't get there. I mean, he appointed you, and he did not clear you to do this by the end of the tenure. I do want to show what the new DA is saying, again, in fairness, because he, as you know, has a very different view of this. Here he was just this week speaking about you.
I bring hard cases when they are ready. Last year, when I took office, I did an exhaustive review of a matter put before me and came to the same conclusion that multiple senior prosecutors in my office independently came to. And that was that Mark Pomerantz's case simply was not ready. I want to specifically respond to Mr. Pomerantz's criticism of our team. It is appalling that he insulted the skill and professionalism of our prosecutors. We have the most outstanding lawyers in the country.
Look, I'm not insulting or assaulting the competence of the prosecutors. I'm not suggesting that the district attorneys with whom I work, whether they agreed or disagreed, were anything less than professional or honest or responsible people. I've been around prosecutors all my life, both as a prosecutor and a defense attorney. I have great respect for the function and the job. But prosecutors are not above criticism. I felt, and I was not the only one who felt this, and I would point now, with the passage of time, the New York State Attorney General has laid out the great bulk of evidence that we would have used in her civil case against Donald Trump.
But just to keep you focused, we heard the DA. Your rebuttal is essentially that this is inbounds fair game, that you're talking about the substance of the case and you disagree with the outcome. That's basically what you're saying.
Sure.
What I thought was also striking in the book, and this is difficult as journalists, we always want to learn more. So we talk to everybody, try to get the information. But there's a tension in the book. When you talk about leaks, when you were on the job, you say, for example, press attention was an obstacle to getting things done as a prosecutor. Press leaks, you write, we can put this up, quote, are like cockroaches, unwanting, aggravating. We don't need the press to ratchet up pressure. The media speculation was clutter. But now you admit you are the one leaking in detail about this case while there's other stuff going on. And even if you say, oh, well, Trump's not going to be charged by this DA, so it's fine, or it's already public, which isn't a defense you just alluded to, is it fair to the process, your colleagues, and the subjects of these probes, if you disagree with the DA's call, to then go out and give your version of why there should be a case? Is that fair? Is this a good model, in your view, for justice in America?
Sure. Let me speak to that. First of all, I want to make it clear that when I was a prosecutor, I never spoke to the press, period. I made no leaks. I wouldn't tolerate leaks. When I was a federal prosecutor, the one time we were able to determine that an assistant United States attorney did leak to the press, he left the office. It's a difference. When I stopped being a prosecutor, after I resigned, now I'm John Q. Public. I'm a citizen. I don't speak with the authority of the state behind me.
Sir, with all due respect, I don't think that's the point. You are making waves because of the government job. If you say, oh, I couldn't do it on Thursday, but I quit, so I'm doing it on Friday, the underlying substantive legal issues are the same, are they not? Whether it is fair to the subjects of probes. I mean, you had enormous power. You've had that in a federal and local office. The power to arrest, the power to try, the power to subpoena, to go through people's lives. If you can do that, and then when you don't get the outcome that you wanted or you thought, even again, in good faith, no one's impugning that you thought that would be the right outcome. But when you don't get it, you turn around the next day and leak it all out there legally. No one's talking about grand jury material. Is that a good process? Is that fair? And you talk about the confidence in the system. Does that not reduce the confidence in the system? I don't care who it is. In this case, it happens to be Donald Trump, who's accused of many things. But is that good for the system if you can turn around the next day, leave, and take everything that is built on the powers you had to basically deride the subject of that probe?
What? Well, you know, if your point is that this was unfair to Donald Trump, I have to take issue with you. And the reason I take issue with you...
I'll let you finish, but I'm not talking about whether it's Donald Trump. I'm talking about the powers you had and whether it's fair to everyone under the law. I'm sure as a prosecutor you understand and agree that everyone is entitled to equal uniform treatment.
The concern about prosecutors leaking is born of the fact that without giving a subject the opportunity to defend himself or herself in court, it's not fair to impugn that person's character. And that is true as a general matter, and I believe in that proposition. Now you have to look at these particular circumstances. Donald Trump has been out there with all the powers and the megaphone of a president. And he has been saying, I never did anything wrong. The prosecutors are racist. It's a witch hunt. We've heard the word witch hunt time after time after time. I was told I was a sleazeball who worked for Hillary Clinton, whom I've never met, and that after trying for a year to gather evidence, I was fired.
So is this personal for you? This is a personal response?
It's not a personal thing, Eric. The point is, this is somebody who is now running for the presidency of the United States. The notion that I was being unfair to him by pointing out the evidence that has now been spread, by the way, all over the public record. The facts relating to the hush money are facts that have been in the public record for months. The facts relating to the financial statements.
Just to redirect you,
Sure.
as we might do as lawyers, your point, your argument, which, again, viewers will assess in their own minds, is that while sometimes it could be unfair, the power and the reach and the mismatch here is such that Donald Trump is okay, that it's different. I guess what
I'm going to put it a little bit differently.
Okay.
I'm going to say in these particular circumstances, given the public attention that had been focused on this investigation, given the extent to which it had been in the news, given who the person was under investigation and that person's statements and what he had told the people, it was in the public interest to let people know that this is not an investigation that resulted in a dry hole.
And you decide that as an ex-prosecutor, what the public interest is.
I made the judgment that it was in the public interest. Look, I could have, when I left, kept my mouth shut, said nothing, held my peace, and gone on. I thought to myself, I had a moral obligation, at least the moral right, to expose what happened.
Right. And I want to be clear, as we said when the story broke, there's no allegation of leaked grand jury materials or anything in that domain. This goes to the final question here before I lose you. We look at this book. What is its purpose? Is it a document for history so we learn a little bit more about it, which, as I tell you, journalists welcome because we're learning about these meetings?
Sure.
Is it only that, or is this, in your view, a way to show that the case is still viable and someone, somewhere, should take this evidence and still indict Donald Trump?
That, what you just said, that the case is still viable and that the case should be taken up and that he should be held accountable for the facts that are recited here and that have been made public, that's part of it. Another part of it is to share with people the process that takes place, what prosecutors think about and what prosecutors should be thinking about when they make these decisions. What prosecutors should not be thinking about, in my judgment, is the political impact of a prosecution. What prosecutors should not be thinking about.
And then when you say that, are you accusing DA Vance or Bragg of not doing the right thing because of politics?
I'm not accusing DA Bragg of acting because of politics. And there's a lengthy chapter at the end of the book that goes through my thinking about what may have happened. And I make the point that, as far as I know, he was acting in good faith. Another possibility is that because of the person, because of the stakes, because of the extremely high stakes, the tendency is to want to have perfect cases. The tendency is to act only when the circumstances compel you to act. I believe that that's one of the reasons that Donald Trump has been able to dance through the raindrops of accountability. And I believe that the practical impact of that is to create a separate standard.
Right. It becomes an excuse. I think you make that point. To button this up, who would charge this case?
Well, look, my hope is that the district attorney comes to the judgment that the case should be brought and that he charges the financial statement case. I see from what has been publicly reported that he is moving forward in connection with the hush money case. If that prosecution is brought, that's great. that should be applauded. The evidence is there. It may not be as sweeping an offense or an offense that involves so much money as the financial statement case, but it's still serious misconduct. I hope that case is brought.
So in that sense, and I have to wrap up on timing, but it's interesting. I mean, in that sense, you made this presentation privately to him. You detail that. You resign in protest. And now, in a way, you're just making this case again in public, hoping that he, the current New York DA, might act on this.
I'm making the case that the case should be brought. He's going to do what he believes to be the right thing. And I'm not taking issue with his bona fides. There's no attack here on his character or his competence or his honesty. I just hope that he makes the right decision, in the belief that when I was working on this case, he made the wrong decision.